We're going Thursday to Thursday. It looks like the Skins are going to be must-see TV, as Dallas week has been ruined thanks to the rumor mill out there in NFL land. I'm going to try my best not to talk this entire show about gold jersey. It's the Hogsty.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
We're back. This is not Sean Conti, it's Alex. We're going to get our regular crews back together at some point. I blamed all these Thursday night games, Steve. You're with me, though, and so it's just us doing the dynamic duo. We've done this before, though. I think we can handle it.
Yeah, we've done this a lot, and frankly, I think Sean's just being lazy. And God knows where Jamal is. Jamal is somewhat MIA. We think he's at the gym, maybe.
Guyam? I don't know what that was. I don't know the word.
I know the word. I just can't believe he's prioritizing anything over the Hogsty, for God's sakes. Come on.
All right. Well, you know what? You and I can get into it this week. Like I said in my opening, though, I feel like Dallas week got ruined because late last week, Ian Rappaport, he had a rumor that he put out there about Kirk Cousins, and the team is still not sold on Kirk Cousins. And he said that sources have said that the transition tag is kind of out of the picture in terms of what the team might do when it comes to Cousins next year. And they still need the next 5 games to decide, are they going to tag him with the franchise tag or give him a contract and let him walk?
Is this team run by morons? I really have to ask. Are they run by people who placed in the bottom 5% on their SAT test when they were in high school? That's the only explanation I can possibly come up with for this stupidity and this ridiculous behavior. If true, who knows? I mean, Ian Rappaport, and he's had his share of. But if you take this for the sake of the debate here as true, it's just mind-boggling to me that we have a quarterback here who's been here for 2.5 years.
Right.
Two
complete. He's been here for 6 years.
He's been here for 6 years. He's played as a starter for 2 years, and then what are we on? Week 11, week 12, game 12
2
here.
2 years and change.
Yeah,
almost. By the way, he's I think second in the team's history now in terms of consecutive starts.
Oh, listen. I mean, we went over this a few weeks ago on the
he's
stats.
Breaking all the records.
He's rewriting the Redskins record books. It's really, like I've said before, it's Sonny, Sam, Joe, and Kirk, and with Mark Rippon sprinkled in there in some of them. But my point is, under what universe do they need to see 5 more games to decide? For God's sake, I want them to put a knife in this whole story and kill it. Whether it's sign him, let him go, whatever, I want it to end. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about it. I'm so sick and tired of the Redskins saying they don't have enough information. How many years does he have to be here before they decide whether or not he's good enough?
Well, what I'm sick and tired of is the team not coming out and just saying, hey, no, that's not something we believe or said. Like, this report comes out and the team doesn't say anything. They don't respond. Which to me says a whole lot more at times than, even a denial. The non-response can be just as bad. You know that.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
it's maddening in a way. Because to me, I'd rather have Tony Wiley come out like he did when he talked about the field, and he said, "No, the field looked great."
It's Baghdad Bob all over again.
Yeah,
the field looked great. Trust me.
It did not look great, you jackass. And, actually, Tony Wiley's been very nice to us, so I shouldn't call him that.
Yeah, please don't. We love you, Tony. Forget Alex just said that. We'll beep that out.
Yeah. Well, that might make it sound worse.
Yeah, that's probably true. Don't do that. We're sorry, Tony.
I was using that in a larger sense. The team is silly for making you try to defend it. Because Tony Wiley's not dumb. He knows the field was brown. And, a PR person should be all about optics. Like, you know how I'm obsessed with optics.
Yes.
PR people are me times 1,000. Anyway, but let's get back to the Rappaport thing real quick. I don't know how much I trust Rappaport. That's the one thing for me that kind of drives me up a wall because this is the guy who last offseason said it was a lock the team was trading him to Kansas City, or not Kansas City.
It was the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Which had no traction whatsoever.
Right. And everyone said, that's a lie. Then he said it was a sure thing that Kirk was going to end up in San Francisco.
And Tony Romo was coming here, I think, at one point in time.
Right. It was a three-way trade between San Francisco, Dallas, and Washington. Kirk to San Fran. Dallas was sending us Romo and then sending a draft pick to San Francisco.
Yeah, it went on and on. It was just a bunch of nonsense.
And then everyone called up all three teams, and all three teams said, no, that's the most weird, ironically idiotic thing they'd heard. So I don't know how much I trust Rappaport.
Well, listen, I mean, he could be right. I mean, he is a national reporter. He does get some things right occasionally. Right. But the reason why I give it some kind of credence is that the Redskins have handled Kirk Cousins badly.
Sure.
Since day one, right? I mean, and I've been probably more defensive of Bruce Allen than maybe some other guys, that are affiliated with us. But I thought his press conference last offseason, in which he tried to convince the public that the Redskins had made an honest effort to sign him, and it wasn't even really a real press conference. It was like him and three reporters that weren't even regular beat reporters in a room.
And it was in like a hotel hallway, yeah. Yeah,
exactly. It was just it was absurd. It's like, how dumb do you think we are? How stupid do you think we are, Bruce Allen, that you would have us believe that you guys actually tried to negotiate a real contract with him? And so now we have this story come out, and he's argue about the 5 games or who knows, but the point is that he's claiming that they aren't sold on him yet. I just don't understand what else you have to see. Either you believe in him or you don't. How many games does he have to play before the decision is made?
Exactly. And, I mean, one of the weird things to me is he's easily showing, to me at least, that he could be one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league at this point. Like, I think that's his basement. I don't know. I don't think his ceiling's top 3 or anything, but I think his basement at this point is top 10.
Listen, I mean, Kirk Cousins this year, he's passed for over 3,000 yards. Mm-hmm. His quarterback rating, what is his quarterback? I have it right
99
here.
or something like
that? No,
it's
101.1.
101.1, okay.
Yeah, he's second in the NFL in yards, 19 TDs, 6 interceptions, 66% completion percentage. And this is all that done with a ton of injuries and no dynamic weapons on offense, save Jamison Crowder sighting this past week and Chris Thompson early in the year. I mean, the fact that he's put up those kind of numbers under these circumstances is a credit to Kirk.
And he's spreading the ball around to a bunch of guys who don't really wow you. Yeah. I mean, I really want to see what this offense will look like in another year if we can get him somebody to replace Pryor who's actually like a good deep threat. One more weapon and he could be deadly again.
I want to see what the Redskins think they're going to see in the next 5 games that they haven't seen from this guy over the past 6 years.
Right. I mean, here's the crazy thing, Steve. If you go back and look at his game-by-game numbers, I mean, there's fluctuation, but it's not crazy fluctuation. Kirk Cousins doesn't have those, 80-yard, 3-pick games anymore.
And listen, I mean, everybody who's ever played sports has fluctuations.
Right.
Michael Jordan...
Sure.
Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant, Johnny Unitas, Barry Bonds, Babe Ruth, they all have good and bad games. And, we all, because we obsess over the Redskins here, we get all wrapped up over whether Kirk has a bad game and this and that. But you're right. He's been fairly consistent every year from a big picture standpoint. We've seen what he is. And the fact that the team still doesn't know tells me that something's off in the front office.
I think his bad games are usually like he threw for 250 and 1 touchdown. And, there's so many quarterbacks in this league who don't even do that now. So I don't know what they're thinking. If they really are like, well, we're not sure for the next 5 games. First off, you don't need to say it because you have the 5 games anyway. Just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. What's the point of that? And all it's going to do is get Kirk riled up.
Right. And it did because people asked him. And then he was, he was Kirk Cousins, but if I wouldn't blame anybody for feeling insulted about that.
I think the Redskins are probably the only franchise in the NFL that would have handled Kirk Cousins the way they have over these past couple of years. I can't imagine another team that would have strung him along and along and along like this. Even the Cleveland Browns. If the Cleveland Browns got themselves a hold of a quarterback that put up Kirk's numbers, I think they would have signed him to like a 100-year contract.
Oh, sure. I mean,
you know.
But we also know the Redskins are they've done this before with guys who've had talent, guys who maybe not were elite, but were just really good guys that they run them out of town and they, drag them through the mud along the way.
Yeah. I mean, they've done it.
This has kind of been a standard operating procedure for the team.
And one wonders why we've made, 5 playoff appearances in 20 years?
Yeah.
Is it 5 or 4? I forget.
Well, I think it's 5.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let me ask you one more thing here, because I got in the debate. Yeah, this is a little bit slightly different tact here, but when we're talking about Kirk and the offense, I've maintained for a long time 2 things. I've maintained for a long time one thing, and I've come to believe another. I think this offense would run a lot better with a very talented elite back, because Kirk is so good off of play action. If you can actually get a running game going and A, gain some yards, and then B, allow the team and Jay Gruden, who's such a good play caller in that regard, to kind of play off it and later, I think it'd be great. And number 2, I've come to think that Jay isn't really quite as much of a passing guy as you might believe. And it's really this year I've concluded that, because Jay he wants to establish a run. Number 1, he's told us for 2 years he wanted to run the ball more. And he's trying to do it this year. His problem is the team just can't do it. And then he gets frustrated and gives up on it, granted. But I wonder if we had an elite back, like, say, Leonard Fournette, or the 2018 equivalent of Leonard Fournette, ends up on this team, Saquon Barkley. I really honestly think you might see Jay run the ball more than people think. Like, I think he might be able to give this guy 20 carries a game, and then that would open up the passing game a lot. So I don't know what you think about it. A lot of people think I'm nuts. They just think Jay's a passing guy, and that's the end of it. And maybe he is.
I mean, I think Jay's mastery is always going to be the passing game. Like, there's no question he was a quarterback. He understands passing routes and quarterback play better than 99% of the planet. So I don't. I don't think you can ever take that away from him, but I do think he likes to run the ball. I mean, he knows that running the ball just makes it easier on your quarterback. And, I think we are going to get there. I agree with you. We need an elite running back, really, because I would settle for above average at this point. I still don't think any of the guys we have are that.
Yeah, I mean, I went into this year thinking Rob Kelly could take another step, but obviously he didn't, and now he's hurt.
I think Kelly's probably done. I'll be shocked if he's with the team next year, but we're not at that point yet, really, of figuring that out. But yeah, if we draft a running back, I will be fine with that. First pick, whatever.
Well, the problem is if I have to see this running back run in shiny, bright gold uniforms, I'm gonna hang myself. Because that's the debate of the day here. The debate of the early week is what uniform the Redskins are going to wear for Thursday.
Right.
You're the uniform guy. I mean, do you want to see these color rush uniforms?
No. I've been pretty solidly anti-color rush just in general. I like the idea of both teams wearing their home uniforms all the time. Like, as long as it makes sense. You can't have, like, the Cowboys and the Colts both wear blue or something.
It would be a tad confusing.
Yeah. But, okay, go and look at the Cowboys' last game. And we're going to talk about the Cowboys here, so I'm sure you rewatched it from Thanksgiving. They were wearing their Navy uniforms, and they were playing the Chargers in powder blue. To me, that's what color rush should be. It looks good. But this whole, hey, some teams are wearing neon, some teams are wearing silver.
Well, and the Cowboys historically have played games with the uniforms in Redskin games, too. I mean, they like to try to make the Redskins wear, burgundy.
Right.
Because they think the Redskins don't like wearing burgundy. And
Well, that was the whole thing from the 70s, right? I mean, the Cowboys always wore white at home, and they kind of kept with that. And George Allen and Gibbs, they kind of kept doing it, too. So, for the Redskins, I mean.
I just don't want my team to look like, the players to look like giant cans of mustard.
No, and I think most people would agree with that. I say that, but I keep on seeing guys, and it's young people. It's people in their, early 20s who are like, I love the all yellow. And it's like, no.
That's
gonna be an eyesore.
it's a thing of youth.
Well,
I think
and
you and I are
here's
too old
where
for it.
me getting weird about it. The Cowboys are going to wear all white. If we're wearing all yellow, all gold, isn't that going to look confusing on the screen?
It's certainly not television friendly, particularly.
Right.
If they insist on doing it, you'd think it'd be all burgundy. I mean,
Sure.
call me crazy.
Well, what's our name?
Redskins.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Not Goldskins.
Yes.
That's
Gold
some other
was always
weird.
that second color for a reason, and the reason was because they wore khaki pants back in the 1930s, and everyone who wore khaki just changed it to gold, because that's how it goes. Now, no, what I've always said, I wish it would just be a throwback game, like Thanksgiving. Just let teams wear something from the 60s.
Well, we do have the throwback uniforms, though.
We do, but that's when you should wear them, is Throwback Thursday or
games?
something.
That makes sense. It makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. Of course, I have a feeling that I don't know this because I've never bothered to look. I'm assuming that the Color Rush jerseys are available for sale.
Oh yeah, they went available for sale the day they were announced 2 years ago.
Yeah, so
And
that's what it's really
you
is
and I
about.
talked about this on the other show on It's Just Business, that it's all about money in the end.
Right.
But to me, if you want to make a lot of money, make it look more aesthetically pleasing than that.
Yeah,
You know,
it just looks horrid.
To me, it looks like they phone it in with all of them. It's like, hey, what are Seattle's second color? Green, okay.
Make
Hey,
them
what's
all bright lime.
Yeah. Hey, what's the Redskins' second color? Make that the uniform. All right. Well, let's see. Who else we got here? Bills. Just put them in white. I don't care about the Bills. No one cares about the Bills. That seems to be their attitude.
Yeah, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but the last thing we heard, we were recording this on Tuesday night. Jay Gruden, in his press conference today, said he had, quote, absolutely no idea.
Right, and then he
what
made fun of
uniforms
Dan
he's wearing.
Steinberg for asking that question.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Because, it's very Steinberg to go to the presser just to ask him about the uniforms.
Right.
That's like
right.
Dan, because we know Dan a little bit, and that's very Dan.
That is very Dan Steinberg to
Yeah.
do that. I feel like his life is just constant fun. Or I would think it's constant fun. He probably hates it, but I think if you or I had his life, and it's just like, hey, wander around to sporting events and ask funny questions.
It would be great.
Yeah, we would love it. Well, let's get into the actual game.
All right.
Enough on the color rush. I would just lastly say, again, throwbacks, make it always look like that 2002 season where we had the spear helmets. That was a good year.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling we're going to see mustard come
I do
Thursday,
too.
but-
I think the NFL is apparently putting their foot down on this. And
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Stupid NFL. Speaking of putting foot down, and not to get off on a tangent, a bunch of players released pictures of their cleats. They're doing the charity cleat thing this week.
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah. So, if you're into that kind of thing, I'm not really into shoes, but, I think it's good that they're using that as a way to raise money for charity.
And now this is their own charities, right? It's not the NFL charities.
Not all. They get to pick their charities. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Some of them,
So-
like Kerrigan, has a charity, so it's for
Right,
his
but my
charity.
point is it's not going to NFL charities. It's going to something of the player's choice. And so
No,
pay
no.
attention to what your player is giving it to. 'Cause
Right.
You may
I
not
saw one of
support it.
the Redskins is doing it for Autism Speaks. Kirk has that International Justice
He's got his own charity. Yeah.
charity that he always works for.
Yeah.
So good for them. I like that. I wish the NFL would let players do more of that. Speaking of charity cases, let's get to the Dallas Cowboys, because I kind of feel like they are going to be a charity case with
Let's hope.
Elliott out. Yeah, and let's hope they are. Well, Steve, do you want to start on offense or defense? We didn't really.
Let's go. Let's go Cowboys offense.
All
Because
right.
I think that's the biggest question mark. Okay, let me start with this.
Go ahead.
The first game that Ezekiel Elliott missed was the Sunday, November 12th game against the Atlanta Falcons.
All right.
Since that time, they have lost all 3 games they have played.
Right.
They have not scored over 20 points. And the opposing teams have not scored less than 27 points. The most the Dallas Cowboys have rushed during that time is 112 yards, which is, with the exception of a couple games early when Elliott wasn't playing well, that's one of their lowest. Those are their lowest totals of the season. 107, 112, 179. That having been said, Alfred Morris actually isn't running badly.
No. He's averaging over 5 a pop, right?
He's at 5.8 yards per attempt. He only has 296 yards on 51 attempts. He's got a one long 70-yard carry. So if you take that out, though, it's still over 4.5 yards per attempt.
Sure.
So Morris's effectiveness isn't a problem. He's actually averaging more per attempt than Elliott is. The problem is Elliott has such a reputation that when he's not there, people can pay attention to a lot of other things. And Dak Prescott isn't having quite as good a year as he did last year. His quarterback rating is only 87.6 on the year.
Right, and if you look at the last 3 games, it's in the gutter.
Worse.
It's not.
Now,
it's not even. It's not. I don't think it's even in the 70s over the last 3 games.
No, it's not. I mean, he's plummeted, and of course, it also must be said that they've played the Falcons, the Eagles, and the Chargers.
Right. So
the Falcons
pretty
and
good
Eagles
teams.
being elite teams. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not sure what to make of the Chargers. I mean, and I went and rewatched it. I watched it on Thanksgiving, obviously, but
yeah,
I'm still not 100%. Is this a good team? Or they kind of vibe like the Redskins to me, where you have some pieces, you're missing some pieces, but you know,
we'll get to the Chargers.
Yeah, we'll get to them down the road.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Chargers. You said now, what we're gonna see here, I think. Dez Bryant is still his favorite target. Not still. Dez Bryant is his favorite target this year. It has been Witten in the past. It is Bryant this year. He's had 102 targets. Now, here's the interesting thing with Dez. 102 targets is 7th in the NFL, meaning only 6 other receivers have had more targets.
Right.
He's only caught 53 of those balls.
Right.
He's 20th in the NFL in receptions. He famously, I think, has been criticized for his hands, at least amongst those who hate Dallas.
Right.
On top of that,
in sprint commercials.
Yeah, in sprint commercials, that's true. and Josh Norman and Bashaud Breeland have both played Dez well over the years. These big guys who aren't burners necessarily, but are physical, kind of play into Norman and Breeland's hands.
They do.
So I would anticipate that Bryant probably won't have a big game based on the fact that he hasn't caught a high percentage of his balls, and he's the type of receiver we love.
Do you have the number? His average? I think because I was scanning through stats when I was doing my prep, and I think he's only averaging like 50 a game yards wise, which is very pedestrian. And
yeah, I mean he's played 11 games, has 578 yards. So it's about 50 yards a game. Yes.
Yeah, I mean let's be honest. He was a very good receiver for a long time, but he could just be hitting that wall. He's getting up there.
He just wasn't as good as everybody thought. In the first place, he had a high profile entrance into the NFL.
He had a couple big years early.
He did have a couple of big years early. Now contrast that though with Jason Witten, who is a historic Redskin killer. He's burned us for years. Witten's only had 63 targets, but he's caught 50 balls.
Right.
So he's going to catch a much higher percentage of balls. But listen, I mean, it's going to come down to, I think, is our old buddy Alfred Morris going to have a big game? Because he's had good games. In these past 3 games, he ran for over 100 yards against, I believe, the Falcons. Mm-hmm. He's had some pretty good games, and he's averaged a high yards per attempt in these 3 games too. If we let Alfred Morris get rolling, number one, it's going to really bum me out because I love Alf. He's one of my favorite players.
I'm so conflicted about him being on the Cowboys these days.
I just can't hate the man. I really can't.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Other interest. So I think that's the key. If their run game gets rolling, that's when Prescott can do a lot better. Because as we talked about, a run game opens up a lot. And the Dallas is one of the heaviest run teams in the league. Even without Elliott, for example, they have 314 rushing attempts on the season, which is 10th. 350 passing attempts, which is 26th. Mm-hmm. So they're a very run-heavy team. So if you control Morris and dare Dak Prescott to beat you and beat him with a receiver that we historically play well against, I think we have a pretty good chance of success, particularly since they haven't been playing well.
Steve?
Yes.
I actually very much disagree with your strategy, and I'll tell you what I watched the last 3 games, and here's what everyone did that messed with Dak. They blitzed him, and then they blitzed him some more, and he turns the ball over.
I'm not saying don't blitz him. I think we don't disagree. I think I'm agreeing with you because if you try to make Dak Prescott beat you under these circumstances, I don't know if he can. And if he's a young quarterback and you blitz him, and listen, the vaunted Cowboy offensive line has given up 24 sacks on the season.
And Collins might be out, by the way. I saw that on Twitter. Collins.
Yeah, I have the injury report.
Oh, you do? Okay, well, we'll get to that. But I mean, here's
I don't
my
disagree
thing.
with you at all.
I mean, look, I love Almo, and I think he's still a very good running back, and he's going to get his yards. He's going to get 80, 90 yards easily. Maybe he might.
I don't
break
want
100.
to see him run for 120. That's the trick.
I don't want to see that either, but would I rather see Alfred Morris run for 120 and Dak throw for only 100? Or would I rather see Alf run for 80 and Dak throw for 250? That's kind of what you're talking about in terms of the equation in my mind. And I think if you put pressure on Prescott, especially early on, and you can get a lead, Dallas is like anybody. They're going to have to go away from the run game if they're down 21.
And they don't operate well when they get away from the run game.
Well, I think, at some point they're going to get desperate. So, to me, that's the way to do it. And also, get some turnovers. I mean, I think Prescott, Eagles had, 2 interceptions on Prescott?
He's had 9 on the year. Yeah, if you want to tell me, give me a second. I will.
But I think if you look at the Eagles game, that's the plan that you should kind of take away for how to go after the Cowboys. Because they had, I think, 2 interceptions. It might have been
3. It was 3 interceptions.
3 interceptions. Okay.
Yeah.
They got a lot of pressure on Prescott, got him rolling, and then having to adjust quite often. To me, that's kind of the recipe for beating Dak. And when you do that, you might give up some runs on, delay handoff once in a while. But I can live with that, 1, 2, 3 times versus I just don't want to see Dak, hitting Cole Beasley in the seam, all game long.
I mean, I don't honestly disagree with you too much. Excuse me. I think that the way the Cowboys really get rolling is when their run game gets rolling, and it takes a lot of pressure off of Prescott, and then he becomes pretty effective when the defense is very focused on stopping the running back, which used to be Elliott. And so if you let Morris kind of step into that role, then you have problems. And so, we need to blitz Prescott, put pressure on him. He's a young guy. He's not going to perform as well under pressure. I totally agree with you there. I think this is a game to blitz, and certainly blitz a lot. But
bring it off the edge. I want to see Kerrigan get another 2.5 sacks.
But I don't think if Alfred Morris has a banner day, we could be in for problems. Because if you look at some of their numbers, 3rd down conversions, they're 6th in the NFL. Per red zone efficiency, 4th. But all the same, they're only 15th in points.
Sure.
So that tells you that some of these drives stall. But when it gets going, with the run game, that's when they score.
Okay. So let's talk about what the Redskins are looking like right now. You said you have the injuries.
Yes.
Who's going to be healthy at linebacker? Because to me, beating the Cowboys comes down to your inside linebackers. One, for the run-stopping factors that we're talking about, and then the equally important coverage of Witten and helping out and covering Cole Beasley. Not that I want to see our linebackers one-on-one with Beasley, but they have to be a supporting role in the slot.
Okay. Well, from an injury report standpoint, let me just run through this real fast.
Go for it.
Since you brought it up. The guys who have not practiced all week so far: McLean, Nicholson, Jordan Reed, Chase Roullier. Trent Williams did not practice Monday. He did practice in limited capacity Tuesday. Brown, Ioannidis, Moses, Scherf, and Spate all have been limited all week. And Ty and Secchi. And then the guys who are injured but practicing fully are Crowder, Lanier, and Pirine. And so when you're asking about the linebackers, Zach Brown and Martrell Spate, who were down to the Martrell Spate show because of injury, they're both practicing.
So
just
Virgil, whatever his name is not
He's not on the injury report.
But if Spade's coming, you're saying Spade's coming back, right? So
yeah, I think Spade is going to be back because he's practiced in some capacity Monday or Tuesday. I could be wrong, but I think we're going to see the Martrell Spade show this weekend. From a Cowboys perspective, by the way, you mentioned La'el Collins. He hasn't practiced all week. We'll see what happens Wednesday when you guys are listening to this. Don't know that yet.
Right.
He's been out, back problems. Some others of note: Sean Lee didn't practice Monday or Tuesday, has a hamstring problem. Zach Martin has a concussion. He's in the concussion protocol. So we'll see what happens with him. And then Tyrone Smith also back and groin problem, limited all week. So they don't have a ton of names on it, but they've got some big names. You know, Sean Lee and Zach Martin probably being the two biggest names.
Just an aside, I heard somebody, I don't remember who it was, but some Cowboys beat reporter was talking on one of the radio shows today, and he was freaking out. He's like, "Man, we're so beaten up," and the local guys were like, "Yeah." Ha!
I would just point out that the Redskins' injury list has gotten significantly shorter this week. But the reason is because everybody... Yeah, that's right. The IR list has gotten significantly longer, which is why the injury report is shorter.
Right.
We're not getting healthier. We're just getting rid of them.
When I go to Pro Football Reference and I scroll through the Redskins stats, there's an entire page that just gets filled up with IR,
injuries.
IR, questionable,
exactly.
It's bad.
It's bad.
Well,
so point is, we should have. I mean, you and I have both said this before. I'm still not sure how wise it is to have Zach Brown covering guys. Even with the speed. But somebody's got to cover Jason Witten. Somebody's got to cover Cole Beasley.
Right. Well, Beasley will be Kendall Fuller's job. I feel good in saying that. I mean,
let's hope.
Yeah. Maybe I'm being crazy. I would almost want Breeland shadowing, the number one guy the entire game.
I don't know about that. I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, you're going to have Breeland shadow Bryant all game, and then put Josh Norman on who?
Whoever's on because I just feel like Norman's not been himself since the broken rib. But that's just my worry.
I don't. Maybe you're right. I would think they're
probably too much.
Probably so. I think they're going to stay home. If you ask me,
okay.
I think they're going to stay home for the most part. And whoever Bryant goes. Personally, I could be wrong, but that's what I would anticipate.
I'm with you. We could be wrong about everything.
We could be totally wrong. It's entirely possible.
Yes. Well, why don't we switch to the Redskins offense beating this defense? I see, at least the last few weeks, and the injuries probably play into this. The Cowboys seem like a defense you can exploit a little bit in the passing game.
Yes.
Like if you go and watch, there's a lot. They let a lot of guys get open underneath in the zone quite often. So I think this could be a good game for Captain Kirk.
Their defense is mediocre generally.
Yeah.
They don't really do anything particularly well. They're bad on third downs, 29th in the NFL on third downs. Their opposing quarterbacks have a rating of 101.4, which is 29th in the NFL. They have 28 sacks, which is equal to ours. They don't really do anything particularly well. And now, Sean Lee, if Sean Lee plays or doesn't play rather, that's a significant step back for him.
Right.
I think if the Redskins, this is another game where if the Redskins don't get too excited over the fact that this is a division game and just play their game and do some things well and good fundamental football, they really ought to be able to move the ball and score against the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think you're going to blow them out like you were supposed to blow out the Giants, No,
but they're not. They're not. The Giants were horrible by every measure. That's not Dallas.
Right.
Dallas is a mediocre to slightly below average defense by most measures.
So who is the biggest threat then on Dallas at this point? It's I'm not really scared of much in their secondary. I'm not. They don't have the vaunted defensive ends they had, 10 years ago.
If Sean Lee plays, Sean Lee's always the biggest threat.
Yeah, I guess so. But it sounds like if he's going to be hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he hadn't practiced. We'll see what happens. But if he's out there, Sean Lee is their best player on defense, I think. And I think he's the guy you have to be careful about. If
Right.
he's not out there, I mean, it goes downhill,
Yeah.
from there. Is it Jalen Smith, the middle linebacker, perhaps DeMarcus Lawrence, he's their sack artist. He has 11.5 sacks on the year. So if we have another, patchwork orange, offensive line,
Right.
could Lawrence get home and get to Kirk a few times? Maybe so. Now, the update on the offensive line, and this is courtesy, I think, of Tandler. He pointed out that because Trent practiced today, that usually means that Trent is going to play. If he practices the last full practice before the game, that's when
Right.
Trent plays. And so I think what we're looking at based on Tandler's reporting is Trent at left tackle, Ty and Secchi at left guard, and then you've got either Rui or Bergstrom at center, and then Sherfin Moses. And so if those guys are all out there, we should be okay. But if something awful happens, DeMarcus Lawrence could have a field day if he's up against like Tyler Catalina at left tackle or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I'm amazed Trent is still, even able to walk and is willing to play.
It's just a testament to his toughness.
It really is.
And his athleticism and his ability that he could do it. Because, don't forget, I mean, people out there, Trent basically doesn't practice the second half of the season.
Right.
Ever. And yet he's able to go out there and play at a consistently high level. It is a testament to his talent.
And by
There's
the way,
very
it's
few
not
players
I
can
don't
do
want
that.
to thing. It's a he
physically
can't thing.
Yeah. There are very few players who a team could get away with just saying, okay, guy, just go out there and play the game, and that's it. And
Right.
him be a Pro Bowler, it's incredible. It really is incredible.
I mean, it's John Riggins-like is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too off track here, but the Redskins have a heck of a history of left tackles. Starting with our
we've
friend
talked
of the
about
show, Joe Jacoby, and through Jim Lachey and Chris Samuels and Trent Williams, and the time will come, not on this show, but maybe a later show in which we need to decide what Trent Williams' place in Redskins history is.
Right.
Because he's getting up there.
I mean, I've said before, I think all four of those guys belong in the Hall of Fame, frankly, for just how good they were at left tackle. And I'm already putting Trent in that group.
I think Samuels is probably the least of those, but yeah. Certainly. But anyway, okay, so I think the big question is what running game is going to show up.
I think that's the $1 million question every week for us. We've seen 2 good weeks, but you've mentioned it, 2 terrible teams we were going against. Dallas, a little bit better
2
on
terrible
defense.
run defenses. Not the Saints aren't a terrible team, but run defense.
We're just talking about that aspect.
Yeah.
Dallas, not elite, but better than
They're
those
not
last
awful.
2.
Yeah, they're not horrible.
Right. So I would expect a drop back. I've been hearing a lot of people say, "Oh, let's see if he can go 3 in a row, 100-yard games," and I don't see that.
I don't see it happening.
But if Samaje Perine can get 75,
I think it's a matter of efficiency more than anything. He's averaging. Yes, he's had 2 good games in a row, but even despite that, he's still not even at 4 yards a carry on the season.
No.
That's how bad he was early.
No, and I think there was also something going on with the line in general. I don't know what, but something didn't look right.
My point is,
team wide.
it's not like on a season this guy's been good.
No,
he's had 2 good games.
No,
can it be a third? I hope so. I tend to doubt it just because Dallas, 1, plays as well historically,
right,
and 2, they're a lot better defense than the Giants, who are just awful, and they're a better run defense, I think, than the Saints, particularly if Sean Lee plays.
Well, let's be honest. What we need from him in this game is more going to be situational running than just a raw stat. It's going to be all about that fourth quarter. We're probably going to have a lead. We hope we'll have a lead.
Let's hope.
If we're up by 10 and Perine is still, because this is the thing he's been doing well. He is still fresh in the fourth quarter.
Because he didn't get a lot of carries.
Well, no, I mean earlier in the season wide, yes, but I'm talking about. He's
even in these games, he's not getting a ton of carries. It's not like he's carrying 25 carries a game.
No, that's true. But he runs hard still in the fourth, and if he can do that, I care more if he gets us like 3-4 first downs in the fourth quarter than I do if he gets 100 yards. I want to see some power running late. I want to see because look at the Giants game. He was busting them open late. That was kind of what helped us win.
Yeah, and I think the offensive line started to play better, and the Giants' defensive line started to wear down. It's a lot of it is, like you said, that the early in the season, that we said it on this show, the offensive line did not play well in run blocking, and they have gotten better. I just can't believe
inside zone. I think that's also the key.
I just can't believe if we run left, good things won't happen. If we run behind Ty Nsekhe and Trent Williams,
right.
How can we not gain some yards?
Oh, did
just
you see
from
that
a really
little quote
basic
by
level.
Trent about the size of the O-line now?
I know what you're talking about, but go ahead. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. How Trent was like, I looked down the O-line and the guard was taller, the center was taller. I was the smallest guy. We have a very big O-line because Trent's not tiny.
No, Trent's 6'5", and I believe what he said is the left guard towers over me, is what he said.
Right, because, Ty is 6'8" or something like that. He's ridiculously big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple trivia questions.
Go for it.
These I don't have
we can
as many
wrap up
as last
with
week.
those and do our guesses.
Because I got scolded last week for having too many of them.
All right.
Okay. Name the running back who has the most rushing yards against the Dallas Cowboys. Redskins running back. These are Redskins. No, Redskins.
Oh, Redskins.
Yeah.
Ooh. I'm going to go Clinton Portis.
Alfred Morris, man. How could you forget? 2012, the NFC Championship title. NFC's title game.
200-something yard game.
200 yards, right. Name the quarterback who has passed for the most, Redskins quarterback who has passed for the most yards against the Dallas Cowboys.
In a game? I should be. Because I thought you were talking career.
Oh, no. Single game.
Single game.
What quarterback has passed for more yards in a single game against the Dallas Cowboys?
This is a tough one. Sonny?
Nope.
No?
It's Kirk Cousins. 449 yards in November of 2016.
Oh, right.
Yeah. We're going to go for a Dallas one.
All right.
Conversely, the converse to that is what Dallas Cowboy quarterback has passed for most yards against the Redskins in a single game?
Babe Laufenberg?
No, it is the hated Tony Romo, 441 yards in that very same Thanksgiving Day game in 2012. That was the big Robert Griffin game.
All right.
So that's trivia for today. One more stat I'll point out.
3.
Yeah, you did. I thought you maybe get the Alf one.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of misunderstood the question, but that's on me.
I didn't explain it very well.
Yeah.
One more note I'll just give out there before we end this. Ryan Kerrigan enters the game as only one of 5 players in NFL history to record 7.5 sacks in each of his first 7 series.
Right.
Or first 7 seasons of a career. Jared Allen, Derek Thomas, DeMarcus Ware, and Reggie White are the only ones. Well, the only other ones.
Right.
So that's pretty good company. Reggie White, Hall of Famer. DeMarcus Ware, Derek Thomas, Hall of Famer. Jared Allen.
Let's be honest. Ware's probably going to be a Hall of Fame, right?
Realistically, yeah, probably so. Yeah. So Ryan Kerrigan, I've always said to me he's kind of a B-plus rusher, but he's putting up numbers that says otherwise.
Well, here's the thing. He's never had that season that some of these guys, the guys who get in the Hall of Fame, they all have like 1 year where they get something between 16 and 20 sacks. And, as much as I love Kerrigan, I don't ever see him getting a 20-sack season.
And that's what I mean by he's a B-plus rusher.
Right.
But he is consistent, man.
Right.
Consistent.
And the thing I love about him, and back when we had him in Orakpo, I think there was a real debate for a while amongst our fan base who was the better guy. Kerrigan has just a couple more moves in his toolkit that Orakpo never had, I feel like.
Yeah, Rack's done well in Tennessee, though.
Oh, he has. He needed to change his scenery,
the question would be, do you want Brian Orakpo or Preston Smith?
Yeah. Well, and I think the Preston Smith thing, more affordable. You could say that.
Well, he certainly is that.
Yeah.
He certainly is more affordable.
Well, yeah, good on Kerrigan. He had, he needed half a sack to get there last game, and he got 2.5. So, good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Game ball. So we do game balls? Or not game balls. Predictions?
Predictions, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do predictions.
All right, you've suffered through the host thing, so I'll do predictions.
Okay, you want to go first?
Yeah. When we did our season prediction show in the offseason, I predicted that the Redskins would split with the Cowboys this year and that the Cowboys would beat us at home and the Redskins would win in Dallas. I'm going to stick with that. I think Dallas is just playing in a slump right now. I think that it's going to be a tough game because it usually is. Mm-hmm. But I think the Redskins are going to be able to score against this team at a fairly good clip. So we can never score 4 touchdowns and have it be at that. So I'm going to say 31-20 Redskins.
31-20. All right.
Yep.
All right. Not bad. I'm kind of with you in terms of, most of what you said there at least. I think it's going to be a little bit harder for the Skins. Not much. But I think
of it, my prediction was my Cowboy bias.
Oh, yeah. But I think the Skins will get like 1 touchdown late to kind of seal it, and it'll be something like 27-17.
Okay.
27-17,
so a 10-point spread.
Yeah.
I predicted an 11-point spread.
Right. I just think it's a little lower, not much.
Fair enough. I really think the Redskins can score against this defense. I don't think they're very good. I think Sean Lee's going to be limited, even if he's out there. And like I said, he's the guy to worry about.
Sure. Oh, yeah, no question. But, I mean, my thing is, red zone, I think it's not going to be quite as easy as it was versus the Giants.
No, certainly not.
Yeah,
definitely.
So there you have it, folks. I want to thank you all for listening in. We'll hopefully have the full crew back with us after the game. I'm not sure when we're recording after the game. We haven't talked about that.
We'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, because this thing's going to end at midnight. That's going to be fun.
Hogstye late night, baby.
Yeah, late night. So we'll see you after that. Have a good Thursday night football fun.
Hasta la vista.